For 4 long years, I gave every penny I earned to pay for Sam's education. He looked at me with such tender affection, promising he'd love me forever. But the moment he graduated, he came back. With a girlfriend. "I know you're a good person," he said, "but let's be honest, you didn't even finish high school. Do you really think you're worthy of me?" In my past life, I couldn't accept it. I clung to him desperately, dragging my entire family into disgrace, becoming the laughingstock of the whole town. And in the end, on the night of his wedding, I threw myself into the river and ended my life. But in this life, I accepted the breakup. Now, Sam regrets everything. Chapter 1. The biting cold and the suffocating sensation of dying still clung to my body like a shadow. I looked at the familiar bed in my room and finally understood this wasn't a dream. I had truly returned to the night before Sam's betrayal. And before I ended my life, I heard footsteps outside the door. Through the window, I saw Sam approaching, carrying several large bags. My parents lit up when they saw him. "Sam must have come to see Camila. Let's call her right now." But I walked out first, me expression cold and calm. "Dad, why are you so happy?" "He's here to break off our engagement." The moment I said those words, the air froze. That's when they noticed he was holding the same engagement contract we had signed 4 years ago. "Sam, what is the meaning of this?" my father asked angrily. "Now that you've graduated and don't need my daughter's money anymore, you want to walk away?" Furious, my father threw his hoe to the ground and stormed up to confront him. By then, several curious neighbors had gathered at the entrance to watch the drama unfold. Everyone in town knew about Sam and me. I was clearly the victim, yet they still sided with him just because he was the only college graduate in our village. Sam put on his best "I'm struggling with this decision" face, pretending he felt bad. But I knew the truth, and his family had already planned for him to marry his university girlfriend before the year was over. In my previous life, overwhelmed by rage and despair, I drowned myself in the river the night of his wedding. But now that I was back, I wouldn't make the same mistake again. Sam stood awkwardly and tried to reason with my father. "Uncle, please calm down. Let me explain. A forced engagement won't bring happiness. I know Camila is a good person, but she never went to school. We have nothing in common. If we stay together, neither of us will be happy." The exact same excuse from my previous life. Hearing it again made my blood boil, but it didn't break me this time. I didn't cry. Instead, I walked up and slapped him hard. The crowd gasped. They had expected me to lower my head in shame. No one thought I'd stand up for myself. "Tell me," I shouted, standing tall. "What did I do wrong?" For years, he ate the food I cooked, wore the clothes I bought, spent the money I worked hard to earn. Everything he had came from me. And now that he's graduated, he wants to leave me and even dares to insult me on the way out? What kind of man does that? Hands on my hips, I let out all the anger and humiliation I had swallowed for years. The crowd's opinion shifted. They no longer looked at me with pity but turned their judgment toward Sam. So, what if he went to college? He shouldn't forget where he came from. Camila took care of both families while he was away. We all saw it with our own eyes. In my past life, I had stayed silent out of shame, allowing Sam to walk away clean. He had hidden comfortably behind the crowd while I was humiliated. But this time, I wouldn't play along. Now he was the one burning with shame. After letting it all out, I snatched the engagement contract from his hands, tore it to pieces, threw it to the ground, and stomped on it. "I accept the breakup," I declared, "but let's be clear, this isn't your family rejecting mine. I am the one leaving you." I pulled out a promissory note. "And one more thing, I want you to sign this. You'll repay every single cent I spent on your education these past 4 years. Sam's eyes briefly lit up when I said I accepted the breakup. But the moment he saw the note, he started making excuses, trying to squirm his way out. But my parents weren't fools. They made him sign it before letting him leave with his head hanging low. And still, he had the audacity to act hurt. "Camila, I thought you still had feelings for me. But now you're treating me like this? You disappointed me completely," I said firmly. "I just hope you won't regret this in the future." Chapter 2. My mother spat on the ground with fury as she watched Sam walk away. My daughter could stay single her whole life, and we'd still take care of her. We don't need anything from you. A wave of satisfaction surged through me, followed quickly by a bitter ache. I remembered how stubborn I had been in my past life, how I dragged my whole family into disgrace. My parents and younger brother stayed locked up inside, too ashamed to even step outside. My brother's own engagement was broken because of me. While we struggled to survive, Sam and his family thrived, gaining wealth and status. Mom, he's gone. Don't waste another glance on him. I shook off the memory and led my parents back inside the house. To scatter the gossiping crowd outside, I handed each of them a small bag of sunflower seeds. These people lived for drama, but now that I'd offered them something, I knew they'd speak kindly of me. Back inside, my parents stared at me with a cautious look. My father hesitated for a moment, then asked, "Daughter, be honest. Do you still have feelings for that bastard? Because if you do, I swear I'll drag him back here myself if I have to." I couldn't help but laugh and shake my head. Dad, there are plenty of men in this world. I'm not stupid enough to cling to someone who doesn't love me. But if I do have to marry, I added softly, I already have someone in mind. In my past life, after I died, Luis the butcher next door avenged me with his own hands. And before he disappeared, he sold a shop and hid all the money in the bricks by our door. That was when I realized had always loved me in silence. And now that I had another chance at life, I wouldn't let him slip away again. Who cares about love? If nothing else, this could be my way of repaying a debt of gratitude. But the moment I mentioned Luis's name, my parents rushed to cover my mouth. That's out of the question. He has no parents, no siblings, no family support at all. How could you ever be happy with someone like that? I understood their concerns, but Luis was a hardworking and dependable man. His butcher shop was always full of customers, and by the end of each year, he earned more money than anyone else in the village. If he ever opened a business in the city, his success would be unimaginable. I don't care. If it's not Luis, I won't marry anyone. I only said that to calm my parents down, but suddenly we heard a loud crash outside. I turned my head and saw Luis standing there. He had arrived, without us noticing, and had just dropped his cutting board. Startled, I rushed over. Are you all right? Did you hurt yourself? Luis's face was red as a tomato. He stammered, "And no, I'm fine." That's when I realized he'd come to deliver the meat we had ordered, but instead, he overheard me saying I wanted to marry him. Even I felt a little embarrassed for a second. Chapter 3. Thankfully, he didn't ask any questions. After delivering the meat, he hurried to leave. But in his rush, he tripped on the door threshold and fell flat on the ground. My parents burst out laughing while I rushed to help him, only to see that he had torn his pants at the knee. "Why don't you go home and change? Bring them back and I'll sew them for you." I looked at him tenderly, making his face turn even redder. It looked like he was about to explode. Luis was around my age, but he had never been in a relationship. Not because no girl liked him, but because every time a matchmaker came to arrange a marriage, he would kick her out. Over time, people started gossiping about him, calling him the village's eternal bachelor. "Why are you going to sew my pants?" "That's not necessary, A flicker of shame flashed in Luis's eyes. Before he could finish, my parents pulled me aside. "What are you doing? If the pants are ruined, we'll just buy him a new pair." Hearing that, Luis quickly stood up, waved his hands, and left in a hurry. No need, it was my fault. Even after he disappeared, I stood there lost in thought. My mother looked at me sternly. "Don't tell me you're really interested in that, Luis? We don't approve of this." I smiled slightly. "Mom, what I actually want is to go into business with him. Luis's butcher shop makes great profits. If I invest and become his partner, I could earn a good income every month." My parents exchanged glances. "But we still have to save up for your brother's future wife. We don't have money to spare for investments." I nodded. "I don't need your money. I just need Sam to repay what he owes me." Over the past 4 years, the money I gave Sam added up to over 1,000 yuan. In my past life, I worked in a factory like everyone else, exhausted, underpaid, and hopeless. But in this life, I want to build something that's truly mine. Determined, I grabbed my sewing kit and went to find Luis. To my surprise, the moment I explained my idea to him, he refused without hesitation. "My reputation isn't good. If you get involved with me, People will talk behind your back too." He lowered his gaze and murmured, "Besides, I have no big ambitions. I'm happy just earning enough to live in this village." A chill ran down my spine. "So you don't want to marry, build a family, or create something meaningful?" "It's not about luck, it's about having the right strategy. If you work with me, I promise we'll make money without fail." Luis stayed silent for a long moment before saying, "Aren't you afraid of what people will say?" Instead of answering, I snatched the torn pants from his hands and started sewing. "You have your strengths, and I have mine. If we work together, we'll make a fortune. So tell me what's there to be afraid of." In no time, I finished mending the pants. When I handed them back with a smile, Luis stared at me for a moment stunned. Then he finally let out a deep sigh and said, "All right, I'll do it." Meanwhile, I went straight to Sam's house to demand my money. Before I even stepped inside, I could already hear the commotion. "Son, why did you sign that debt contract? That's a lot of money. How are we going to pay it back?" "Don't worry," Sam replied smugly. "I know Camila. She's obsessed with me. She wouldn't dare make me pay." I let out a cold laugh and kicked the door open. "You're delusional. So, when are you going to pay me back? If you don't, I'll come here every single day until your whole family can't sleep in peace." Sam's fiancée was there too, a delicate and pretty girl. But the moment she saw me, she hid behind him like a frightened little mouse. The faces of Sam's family twisted in irritation. They used to treat me like a servant just because I was helping Sam. Even now, they thought they could manipulate me. "Camila, what's wrong with you? You were the one who offered to pay for his college. We're not giving you a single cent back." Without a word, I grabbed the table and flipped it over. "You still don't want to pay? Then I'm not leaving. I'll destroy this whole house and we'll see who regrets it more. Sam wants to get married, right? Then I'll take his precious little bride and return her once you've paid your debt." As soon as I said that, I felt a slight pang of guilt. Obviously, I wouldn't really do that. But it worked. The family panicked. They scrambled through their things and handed me half the money, stuffing the cash into my hands. "This is all we have right now. Take it and go. There's no need for violence." I counted the bills and, without a word, slapped Sam across the face. "I'll come for the rest later. Don't even think about trying to weasel your way out. Got it?" Sam's fiancée burst into tears. "You witch. How dare you hit him?" "Sure, Sam took my money. But you're the one who latched onto him first. You didn't even give him the chance to say no." I looked at her with disgust. "Have some shame. He's the one who asked me for money. I'm just taking back what's mine. Does that make me a witch?" I didn't want to waste another minute arguing. I went straight to Luis's house and slammed the money on the table. "All right. Let's draw up a contract. We're partners now." News spread fast. Everyone in the village thought I had gone completely mad. People gossiped, whispered, and some even came to my house to see for themselves. "Did you lose your mind after Sam dumped you? Is that why you're messing around with Luis?" I kicked the gossipers out and went back to helping Luis with inventory. He had been quiet all day, working with his head down. Then, out of nowhere, he said, "Don't let them get to you. If they come back, I'll grab a stick and chase them off myself." I laughed. "Good. I'll count on you to protect me then." Luis was always careful, selecting only the freshest, highest quality cuts of meat. Because of that, we had a loyal customer base. And since the village was close to the city, transportation and storage weren't an issue. I was just about to go out and buy more ice when I saw Sam hesitating outside my house. He still had those attractive features, but when I looked at him now, all I felt was disgust. "Camila," he sneered, "aren't you ashamed? You're with a butcher, now are you doing it just to annoy me?" Chapter 4. I'm here to pay you back. Take this and let's end it. Don't come accusing me of anything else again. Sam tossed the money on the ground like touching me would dirty his hands. I let out a cold laugh. I thought I'd have to chase him endlessly to get my money back, but here he was handing it over himself. What a lucky break. Before leaving, Sam looked at me intently. "Out of nostalgia, let me give you one piece of advice. Stay away from that butcher. Spending too much time with that brainless idiot will ruin any chance you have at getting married." I had no intention of replying, but the way he insulted Luis made me lose my temper. I kicked him hard. If he's a brainless idiot, then you're a complete fool. Get out. Sam's face darkened. How many times have you hit me now? One more time, and he suddenly stopped. I turned around and saw Luis had silently appeared behind me, staring at Sam with a cold, unreadable expression. Luis had a solid, imposing presence. Just by standing there, he made Sam freeze in fear and shut his mouth. Then, Sam turned and left. My anger faded a little. I gave Luis a thumbs up. He stood there stiffly, ears turning red. Later, I bought the ice and stored it properly. Luis watched, stunned. I never even thought of this. I've wasted so much meat all this time. For a moment, I could see the admiration in his eyes grow stronger. I patted him on the shoulder. We agreed on tomorrow's schedule, and I went home to rest. The next morning, we loaded the cart and headed to the city. I felt nervous. Starting a business was always the hardest part. If we didn't sell all the meat today, I could already imagine Sam and the others mocking us without mercy. But as soon as we reached the market, a crowd gathered. People lined up eagerly to buy our pork. In less than 2 hours, we completely sold out everything we had prepared the night before. Even with a long line still waiting, those who missed out refused to leave. An idea popped into my head. I wrote down their names and set aside meat for them to pick up the next day. Luis helped keep things in order, but I could see his gaze constantly drifting toward me. On the way home, he turned to me and said, "You're amazing, smarter than anyone I've ever met. The cut I gave you at first was too small. From now on, we split it 50-50 no matter how much we sell." His sincere expression left no room for doubt. I nodded. "All right. I'll work even harder to support you." I felt more motivated than ever. Some people who had been waiting to laugh at us snuck over and lifted the tarp on our cart only to find it completely empty. They looked at each other in silence. At home, I did a few quick calculations. In just one day, we earned more than I used to make in a whole month at the factory. My parents were finally convinced. They stopped worrying. That night, they even invited Luis to stay for dinner. "Your brother comes home tomorrow," Mom said. "You'll have to tell him what happened with Sam." My brother and I were always close. He knew how much I had liked Sam and how hard I worked to support his family. I nodded. "I know. He'll understand." He had even told me before how much he hated the way the villagers mocked Luis. I trusted he wouldn't be prejudiced. Luis showed up in clean, fresh clothes. Unlike before, he wasn't as nervous. Even helped clear the table after dinner. At the end of the night, he shooed everyone out of the kitchen and insisted on doing the dishes himself. As I watched him work, a warm feeling bloomed in my chest. Chapter 5. Have you ever thought about opening a shop and moving to the city? I leaned against the kitchen doorway and asked Luis. His hands paused for a moment. "Opening a shop sounds great, but I'm afraid it won't be stable." I reassured him. "What's there to be afraid of? We'll rent a place together, build a solid reputation, and we'll always have steady customers." I knew selling from a street stall wasn't sustainable. If we wanted true stability, we needed a storefront. "I'm not that smart, so I'll just follow your lead," he said after a long pause. And just like that, Luis agreed. We decided to each invest half the money. That very afternoon, we went into the city to look for a good location. When my brother returned home and saw Luis helping out around the house, he was stunned. "Sis, what's going on? Didn't Sam come back?" I told him everything. He was furious and immediately turned to storm off, clearly heading to confront Sam. My parents quickly held him back, begging and pleading until he calmed down. My sister gave up her chance to go to school and always put others first. How can I just stand by and let her be treated like this? Back then, our family could only afford to send one of us to school, so I gave my spot to my brother. He had always felt guilty, thinking he had stolen my future. "It's okay. School isn't the only way to learn. I may not be great with books, but I can learn other things." I quickly comforted him and added, "Mom, Dad, I wanted to tell you I am going to learn how to make braised meat, and Luis and I are going to open a shop together in the city." Just selling raw pork was too limiting. If we offered prepared dishes and more variety, we could attract a bigger customer base. My parents hesitated. They knew it was a great business opportunity, but my brother was of marrying age, and we didn't have any extra money to invest. That's when my brother stepped up. Do it. I support you, sis. Mom. Dad, she gave up her future for me. Now it's my turn. And just like that, I was able to gather my half of the money. Without wasting time, Luis and I set up the shop in just 1 week. By the time we finished, I was exhausted, soaked in sweat. Right then, a sweet, saccharine voice called out behind me. You've made yourself look so bad, who would even want to buy meat from you? It was Alice, Sam's girlfriend. Her makeup and hairstyle were flawless. Clinging to Sam's arm, Alice looked at me with a mocking smile. I didn't think you'd actually open a store. But so what? In the end, you'll just be a lowly butcher for the rest of your life. When Sam rejected me, he had repeated over and over that he'd been with Alice for 3 years. They had spent my money on their relationship. I refused to believe she didn't know. And yet, here she was, showing up with him just to spite me. Boss, are you in? Is the pork we ordered yesterday ready? Before I could even reply, a voice called impatiently from outside. I completely ignored Sam and Alice, grabbed the meat, smiled confidently, and went out to serve my customers. In just a short while, I had already made dozens of sales. Alice stood there dumbfounded. But she still kept up her hypocritical attitude. You won't make this kind of money every day. Sam is a top graduate. He's already a supervisor at a factory. You'll never be able to compare with him.
Sam nodded proudly.
People live for status and dignity. You've already lost yours. No matter how much money you make, you'll never get it back. I let out a cold laugh. All right then. I'll wait for you and your so-called status and dignity to come teach me a lesson. Chapter 6. Sam immediately sensed the sarcasm in my tone. He sighed and walked away with Alice. Meanwhile, after Luis returned, I traveled to a nearby town to apprentice at a braised meat shop and learn the craft. After paying the tuition, I found that my teacher was an honest and straightforward man. He taught me everything he knew, holding nothing back. When I finally managed to prepare all the dishes, Luis was over the moon. This is amazing, Camila. You're so talented. Hearing that, my heart filled with joy. Then I'll cook for you every day from now on. Over time, Luis and I grew much closer. Eventually, he stopped hiding his feelings and confessed his love to me. That's when I learned the truth. Had liked me since we were children. Back then, everyone teased me for being an orphan. But you were the only one who cared. You used to sneak me food when no one was looking. Luis, this big, strong man, cried like a child as he remembered the past. We confirmed our feelings for each other, but out of respect for my parents, we decided to keep it a secret for now. As time passed, our business flourished. Even the villagers who had once doubted us began to change their minds. I returned the money I had borrowed from my parents with interest. They wiped away tears and said, "Our daughter has truly grown up. She has a real talent for business." Our savings continued to grow steadily. I thought life would finally stay peaceful, but I underestimated Sam's jealousy. One morning, he barged into our store making a huge scene. He brought an elderly woman with him. "Camila, the pork from your store made my great aunt sick. She's had stomach pains all night. You better explain yourself." I immediately recognized the old woman. In my past life, when I was still desperate and clinging to Sam, she was one of the many who spread vicious rumors and turned the town against me. She was partly responsible for my death. So I had no intention of showing them mercy. Instead, I waited for a crowd to gather before speaking calmly. "Oh, really? There's something wrong with our meat? Then tell Megan you guarantee she ate absolutely nothing else." Sam raised his chin defiantly. "Why wouldn't I? I'm a college graduate, Tito. You think I'd make this up?" When the crowd heard Sam mention his degree, they started to murmur, leaning toward his side. "Well, he's a college graduate. He must know what he's talking about. Maybe there is something wrong with the meat. I used to buy here, but after this, maybe I won't come back." Hearing those words, a faint smirk appeared on Sam's face. "Just admit it, Camila. Compensate my great-aunt now, or this will blow up into a full-blown scandal. And that won't end well for you." I had no intention of giving them a single coin. Doing so would be the same as admitting our meat was tainted, and it would ruin the business I had worked so hard to build. Suppressing my anger, I smiled coldly and asked, "How much do you want?" Just as I suspected, Sam named the exact amount he had paid me before as compensation. It was clear he still held a grudge and came here seeking revenge. Lately, things had been going very well for me. The whole village was talking about how unfortunate Sam's family was to have lost me. That must have eaten away at him, so he came up with this petty scheme. I shook my head and exposed him right there. "You're trying to scam me? I'm not that easy to fool. If you insist your great-aunt got sick from eating my pork, then let's call the police and let them investigate." In the past, I used to be afraid of the police, convinced they'd never be on our side. But ever since I met an officer who became one of our regular customers, my perspective had changed. Chapter 7. He and his family bought from our shop almost daily had become more of a friend than a customer. I knew he'd help me this time. Sam froze. He hadn't expected me to react like that. Why cause yourself trouble? If the investigation finds something, it'll only hurt you. But seeing that I wasn't nervous and that I was even suggesting calling the police, Sam's face shifted. His eyes flickered with doubt. He hadn't expected me to be so firm. Trying to stay composed, he said,
Fine.
"But if they find anything wrong, you'll regret it." "Let them investigate," I replied, staring him down. "I have nothing to hide. But you coming to my store early in the morning, making a scene, accusing me without proof, what's your real motive?" Sam's great-aunt suddenly looked uneasy. Her eyes darted away from mine. "Why you stop talking nonsense?" she stammered. "We're just here for justice." "Justice?" I laughed mockingly. "You two clearly just came here to extort money." Seeing things weren't going their way, Sam tried to turn and leave. But I firmly stopped him. "Leaving already? We haven't resolved anything." The crowd watching began to murmur among themselves. "Looks like they really did come to scam her." "Yeah, we've all eaten Camilla's meat and never had a problem. Sam may have a college degree, but instead of working honestly, he's out here trying to cheat people." Hearing the murmurs, Sam's face turned even darker. "Don't twist things. We just want an explanation." I gave a cold laugh.
Fine.
"Then let's wait for the police to give us one." Sam and his great-aunt exchanged nervous glances and started to back away. "No one's leaving," I declared loudly. "Not until this is resolved." Just then, Luis returned. "What's going on here?" he asked, stepping into the crowd. The moment Sam saw him, his expression changed completely. He knew how strong Luis was and didn't dare challenge him. Luis let out a cold chuckle. "So, you wait until I'm gone to come cause trouble? Looks like you're begging for a beating." With that, Luis took a quick step forward and grabbed Sam by the collar. "W, what are you doing?" Sam stammered in fear. "What am I doing?" Luis growled, his eyes blazing. "I've had enough of you. Today, you're finally getting what you deserve." Without another word, Luis landed a solid punch straight to Sam's face. Sam cried out in pain, clutching his face as he fell to the ground. "Luis, stop." I rushed to him and grabbed his arm. Luis shot Sam one last murderous glare before letting go. Sam scrambled to his feet and fled, completely humiliated. His great-aunt ran after him, head lowered in shame. The crowd erupted in applause. "Well done. That scumbag had it coming." "Exactly. Camilla's meat has always been top quality. How dare they try to smear her name?" Luis looked at me, with concern in his eyes. "Are you all right?" I shook my head. "I'm fine. Thank you." "There's no need to thank me," he smiled. "As long as I'm around, no one will hurt you." A warm feeling bloomed in my chest. I nodded, feeling safe and protected. After that incident, Sam's reputation was completely destroyed. His status in the village plummeted. No one wanted anything to do with him. Meanwhile, our braised meat shop thrived more and more each day. Chapter 8. But I wasn't going to let Sam off so easily. "Luis, I need your help." I turned to him with determination in my eyes. "Tell me what you need," he said without hesitation. "Go to the police station and report Sam and his great-aunt for attempted extortion." A sharp glint flashed in my eyes. "I want them to understand Camilla, and not someone you can mess with." Luis fell silent for a moment, then nodded. "All right. I'll go right now." I stood at the entrance of the shop, watching his figure disappear down the street. His determination filled me with confidence. Not long after, the police arrived. "Officer, a few days ago, Sam and his great-aunt came to my store at dawn to cause trouble," I said. "They accused me of selling spoiled pork and tried to extort money from me." I pointed in the direction of Sam's house. "It's clear they were just trying to scam me." Sam and his great-aunt were brought to the scene. Their faces went pale instantly. They thought I'd let it go. They never imagined I'd fight back. "What the hell are you talking about?" Sam growled, trying to act tough. I let out a cold laugh. "Then let the officers investigate and see if there's really anything wrong with my pork." Sam and his great-aunt exchanged anxious glances, neither daring to speak. Seeing this, the officer turned to the crowd. "Please disperse. We will conduct a thorough investigation." The villagers reluctantly walked away, whispering among themselves. Finally, Sam spoke. "Camila, do you really have to go this far?" His voice trembled with panic. "Of course," I replied without hesitation. "I won't let people like you ruin my reputation." The police took Sam and his great-aunt to the station, and I went with them. At the station, the officers thoroughly questioned them and tested the pork I sold. The results confirmed there was nothing wrong with the meat. "Sam, what do you have to say now?" The officer looked at him sternly. Sam lowered his head, speechless. "According to the investigation, your actions constitute attempted extortion," the officer announced coldly. "We will proceed according to the law." Sam and his great-aunt were taken away. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Days later, word of Sam's arrest spread throughout the village. His girlfriend Alice dumped him the moment she found out. "Looks like karma finally caught up with you, Sam," I whispered, standing at the village entrance as I watched the police take him away. A cold smile tugged at my lips. A few days later, Sam was released. But his reputation was in ruins. No one in the village wanted anything to do with him. "Hey, Sam, weren't you the proud college graduate? Why aren't you working at the factory now?" Someone mocked him openly. Sam's face darkened, but he didn't say a word. "I heard he even lost his factory job." "Well deserved," someone remarked with satisfaction. "That's what he gets for being such a terrible person." Sam's family could no longer hold their heads high in the village. They had lost all the arrogance and pride they once flaunted. Now it's their turn to feel what I once felt. I watched their misery with a sense of long-awaited justice. Meanwhile, Luis and I were thriving. Our braised meat business had reached its peak. Not only had we opened a store in the city, but we had also launched a second branch right here in the village. "Camila, our future is only going to get better," Luis said, his eyes full of hope. "Yes, I believe we'll have a truly happy life," I replied with a smile. On the other hand, Sam's family could only hide in silence, enduring their downfall in shame. "You brought this upon yourselves," I muttered coldly, not a single ounce of pity in my voice. Chapter 9. Luis and I continued expanding our braised meat business. The very villagers who once mocked us now admired and even envied what we had built. "Camila, you and Luis have built something amazing," one Annie said, smiling as she picked up her order. "Yes, all of this is the fruit of our hard work," I replied proudly. Seeing how successful we had become, my parents finally let go of their old worries. "My daughter, it looks like we really must accept Luis now," my mother said, holding my hand with relief in her eyes. "Thank you, Mom and Dad," I said as I hugged them, filled with happiness. At the same time, my brother's marriage was finalized. His fiancée was the daughter of a shop owner from the city, one of our most loyal customers. "Sis, I never imagined I'd marry someone so amazing," my brother said, smiling brightly. "It's all thanks to your husband's business. It brought good luck to the whole family," he teased. I laughed, teasing him right back. And so, Luis and I got engaged, and our lives overflowed with happiness and success. But just when we were busy preparing for the wedding, Sam suddenly appeared at my door. "Camila, I need to talk to you," he said, looking worn down. I looked at him coldly. "There's nothing left to say, Sam." "Camila, I know I made a mistake," he said, regret written all over his face. "I was blind back then. That's why I did what I did. Can't you give me another chance?" I let out a dry laugh. "Sam, who do you think you are? You hurt me over and over again. And now you show up and say this? Don't you think it's far too late? Camila, I really know I was wrong, he pleaded. I'm willing to do anything, just give me one more chance. Wake up, Sam. I cut him off, merciless. I'm already engaged to Luis, and we're getting married soon. What's the point of saying all this now? Sam's face turned ghostly pale. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Alice is a liar, he whispered finally. She ran off with all my money. I have nothing left. I raised an eyebrow. Isn't she the one you chose? And now you regret it. Get out. I never want to see you again. I gave him one last cold glance and walked into the house. Sam stood there for a while, stunned, then left in defeat. A few days later, while I was busy working at the shop, I overheard some people chatting. Did you hear? Sam's life is a mess now, a young man said while chewing on braised meat. Yeah, his girlfriend dumped him. Now he just drinks alone at home, another replied. I heard everything, but my heart didn't stir. Sam's downfall was entirely his own doing. Luis and I had our wedding as planned. The entire village came to celebrate with us. Luis, you better take good care of my sister, my younger brother said with a firm pat on Luis's shoulder. Don't worry, Luis replied with a steady voice. I'll treat Camila the way she deserves. After the wedding, we said goodbye to our guests and returned home. I leaned into Luis's arms, feeling an overwhelming sense of joy. Not long after, shocking news spread through the village. Sam had taken his own life. I heard he drank too much and then took sleeping pills, villagers whispered. What a shame. When I heard the news, I found it both ridiculous and pitiful. Someone like Sam didn't deserve to be mourned. I didn't attend the funeral. I never mentioned his name again. To me, he had become completely irrelevant. Luis and I continued running our braised meat shop. Life was peaceful, full of warmth and contentment. Meanwhile, Sam had become nothing more than a name in village gossip. A sad, pathetic failure. In this life, I finally lived the life I had always dreamed of. I looked at Luis, my heart overflowing with gratitude and happiness. Thank you, Luis. Silly girl, I should be the one thanking you, he said, smiling. We looked at each other and smiled, then got back to work side by side. Sam had become a shadow in my heart. But that shadow was long buried by the happiness I had found. It's all in the past now, I thought quietly to myself. The days ahead will be even better.